Alright, Brutal's challenge is now live, and it is quite the interesting one, to be honest. There are a lot of fun node combos, but also some very annoying node combos. And overall, the challenge is definitely like a challenge, right? So there are 7 paths of 5 fights, and the first 5 fights are Winter Soldier, Juggernaut, Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Wolverine. And these 5 characters are repeated 7 times. And then there is a final Hulk boss. So let's go over the 5 path fights first and see who is the best option for each of these fights. Fair warning, there is a lot of text in this quest. The nodes have a lot of words in them, but I'll try to break it down for you. So first up is the wavering conditioning node, where basically he switches from passive to aggressive every like 15 seconds or so. And additionally, there's high energy diet, where you just can't really do energy damage to him, like at all. He just regens it back or just gets massive res from it. Then there is Now You See Me, where if you don't land a hit within 6 seconds, you get faltered for 3 seconds. And then there's new buffs, which is escalating armor up buff, where every 5 seconds he gets an armor up buff, and it just stacks infinitely. Then there is the aggression node, and this is a new one where every 5 seconds, if you do not strike Winter Soldier, he gets this lethal blow, and this lethal blow will one-shot you, guaranteed. So watch out. Do not let him get that lethal blow on you, because if you get hit, you are just done. So just avoid energy damage champions and go for like some miss counters, or pretty much anyone, to be honest. What I did is I used this as an Aegon ramp, who will just be insane in the later paths. So I would just ramp him up here. If not Aegon, then you can use Gallon. You can use pretty much anyone that is a physical damage dealer, or just, direct damage. But yeah, overall, probably the easiest fight of the 5. Now we have Juggernaut, who has pretty basic, where your special attacks and damage over time effects deal minus 95% damage, but your light and medium attacks do 200% more damage. There is also Energy Convert, where whenever you charge your heavy attack, you drain your power, and every time you drain more than a bar of power, you gain a Fury passive of pretty big potency. There's also Roots or Rooted, where every 12 seconds, either you or him will be rooted, and this depends on where you are. If you are close to him, then you will be rooted, and if you are far away from Juggernaut, then Juggernaut will be rooted. There's also Stand Still, where whenever you dodge an attack, he gains a Fury passive. He also starts the fight debuff immune, but if you knock him down, it goes on cooldown for 6 seconds, and if you hit him, it resets the cooldown. So be aggressive and keep hitting him to maintain that cooldown and keep him away from debuff immunity. So just avoid special tech and DOT champions, and the best options here are counterpunch characters that don't need to parry to knock him down, like Aegon with his heavy attack and his unstoppable mechanic, Mole Man, a lot of counterpunch characters there. Additionally, slow champions, so you can just dodge however you want, because you can just get to 7 Fury passives and he won't go unstoppable with the slow, so there's that as well. Some example characters here are Aegon and She-Hulk, but to be honest, just as long as they don't rely on special attacks or DOT, then most champions will be viable. And now we have Vision, who just straight up counters Hercules. There is a note that reduces the damage of Elder and Gods by 95%, and that just makes Hercules pretty much unusable here. But robots, Kree, and Inhuman characters get a pretty nice Fury passive. There's also Kinetic Transference, which means if he hits your block, he will just get power, so be careful of that. There is Standing Powerful, where he starts the fight immune to Power Lock, Drain, Burn, and Steal, but if you knock him down, then this goes on cooldown, and if you keep hitting him, the cooldown resets, so just stay aggressive if you want to power control this character. So the best options are just power control characters, but you have to knock them down first, so be aware of that. Champions like Hulkbuster, future Ant-Man, any taunt character like the Overseer, Scorpion, champions like that. Pretty much anyone works for this fight too, though. Just be aware of his power gain with the Synthesis and the Kinetic Transference. But besides that, not the worst fight out there, just can be a bit annoying if he doesn't want to throw a special attack. Now we have a very, very goofy fight. This is Scarlet Witch, who has Power Shield, which, you can only do damage through special attacks. There's also Going Super, where whenever you charge a heavy attack, you gain a Prowess passive, and this Prowess really stacks up. And there's also Powering Up, where whenever you charge a heavy attack, you gain a lot of power as well. But keep in mind, you can only gain power in this fight from the heavy attack. You cannot gain it through normal means. And there's also Critical Eye, where whenever you crit her, she gains an unblockable charge, and it stacks up, so it is pretty dang annoying to deal with. And yeah, this fight is just really, really crazy. It is a very fun time. So just avoid using champs that crit a lot because, yeah, it is a not fun time with the unblockable. But non-crit characters make this a very fun time. The special attack damage is just crazy, and there is no unblockable whenever you use a non-crit champion. So it is just a very nice fight. And the best options here, I feel like, are Guardian, Crossbones, Sam Wilson, any non-crit character, but even crit champions can work so long as you just play around the unblockable. It is just a very fun fight. It is a very fun time. And yeah, the nodes are just so crazy. And now we have the problem child, Wolverine. This man has some wild nodes. So first up is DOT immune. This guy is immune to all damage over time effects and passive damage types. So yeah, that's already a great start. He has Going Berserk, which is pretty helpful for you because whenever you charge your heavy attack, you gain a pretty nice Fury passive. And he also has True Strike, which is just okay. Just do not use Quake or whatever. There's also Lionheart, where whenever you try to heal reverse this guy, he will just do a ton of damage to you. Then there's Active Regen, where this guy is just heal block immune, and additionally, whenever he is struck, there is a chance that he'll just regen most of the damage back. So a very annoying node set for sure, and very few options, I feel like. So the ideal options here are just champions who can heal block without having an actual heal block, for example Warlock's Infection or CGR. And then there's champs who have like really high damage output, like CGR again, or just anyone with patience. So the best options here are Warlock, CGR, Aegon ramped up, Gamora, who just gets infinite damage pretty much. You have some options, but to be honest, I feel like the best option is Warlock, but besides him, just use a pretty high damage dealer or just be in for a very long fight. Now we have the Hulk boss, and this man is menacing. He has Dodge Soul's Fury, where he has plus 95% block penetration and can do crits through block. But whenever you dodge an attack from him, you also get a Fury buff, which is pretty nice. He also has Vital Strikes, so whenever he hits your block, he'll just regen whatever damage he did to you, and then some, which is pretty crazy. There's also Conflictor, where every 7 seconds, the next debuff on Hulk is Purify, and he gets 75% of a bar of power. Then there's Brute Force as well. So the best options here are just champions that don't rely on blocking hits. For example, there is like Aegon, but pretty much anyone on your team will just do fine here. This guy you shouldn't prepare for, like you shouldn't bring a team slot just for him. I would just use whoever you have left on your team because this guy is pretty annoying, right? But he can be dealt with pretty easily just as long as you don't block too often. And, you know, just don't use someone who is overly reliant on debuffs either. So overall, not the hardest fight, but also pretty annoying because of like the block penetration and like the regen as well. So yeah, this Hulk pretty menacing, but I got the solo with Aegon. So he isn't the hardest boss out there, but still is pretty dang annoying, right? But yeah, that is it for this guide here. Hopefully this helps you out. This challenge is very fun. I think like the fights aren't too bad except for Wolverine, because without Warlock or something, he becomes pretty dang annoying to deal with, right? But there are a few options for him, to be fair, so it just is a pretty fun time, right? But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this challenge, and yeah, that's about it for me.